Everyone, my name is Crystal and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, then hit that subscribe button because we're friends, we just haven't met yet. Okay, I almost totally started talking without even turning my mic on. Hello, everybody. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Duchess. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a cold case from 1982 of Kelly Hollan Jr. I'm going to play a few news clips from it, but give me a second. Let me pull this up, get all my information ready. How you all doing? I know how you two are. Okay, bear with me. I'm being completely transparent. I talk too long. Okay, Kelly Hollan Jr. Went missing on February the 13th of 1982. No, I didn't. Let me check. Why on earth? Is this better? Is that better, Dutchie? Thank you, Michelle. My lovely niece did my makeup. Hello, one love. Dutch, can you hear me better? Let me know, honey, because I just have no clue. Oh, yes, it's better. Okay. Kelly Hollan Jr. Was born on, went missing on February the 13th, 1982, from Hemman, Kentucky. That's in Hazard, Kentucky. It is considered a non-family abduction, and this is what they've got on the Charlie Project. He was a male, white. His birthday was November the 17th, 1975. He was 6-year-old at the time of his disappearance. He was 4 foot tall, 60 pounds. He had a blue and white shirt on, a blue hooded windbreaker jacket with the zipper torn at the bottom, and blue jeans and brown boots. Now, medical conditions that he had, Kelly was born with a cleft palate and has a speech impediment. As a result, he cannot pronounce certain words clearly. His distinguishing characteristics: he is a Caucasian male, brown hair, blue eyes. Kelly has a surgical scar on the left side of his face between his nose and upper lip. Now, and I don't know really how accurate this part would be, considering he would be 48 years old if he was found today. It says his teeth have gaps between them. Like I said, I don't know how accurate that would be because I'm assuming he's lost his baby teeth now. But Kelly's school classes on February the 13th of 1982 had canceled due to heavy snowfall. He stayed at home with his mother, Judy Moore, in the residence on Lark Lane in Pine Tree Hollow in Knott County, Kentucky, which is also in Hazard, Kentucky, approximately 5 miles outside of the town of Hinman. A photo of Moore is posted with the summary, and I'll show y'all that. It says, Kelly went outside to play with his family to play in the family's front yard at approximately 11 a.m. Moore stated she told him he was not to leave the front yard. She was last seen checked on him at approximately 4 p.m. At this point, Moore went to the neighbor's home to answer a phone call. She didn't have a phone in her own home. When she returned, Kelly was no longer in the front yard. Now, on a lot of these interviews, you'll notice that she says it didn't panic her at that point, because she was used to Kelly going to the neighbors to watch Dukes of Hazzard, and that's where she thought he was. So at 6 o'clock, when supper was finished, dinner, lunch, whatever you want to call it, she then hollers for Kelly, and he doesn't answer. Well, after she goes to the neighbor's house, they said they hadn't seen him all day. In these interviews, she said that she was not permitted to use the phone until 12 o'clock that night. Now, in one interview, I think it says it was her mother-in-law, not really sure, that wouldn't let her use the phone. And so when they came in, they could not search that night because the snow was so heavy, but they had to wait to daybreak to start searching. They looked everywhere for Kelly, and until this day, he's not been found. Yeah. And just a second, because I want y'all to see this. Now, you don't hear much about his case online, but when you do get to watching it, it's real interesting, because at one point, Kelly's mom's sister accuses her of having something to do with harming Kelly. And I'm going to share my screen. He would be 42 today. Are you sure? He was 6 years old then. Went missing in 82. He'd be a grown man. We know that. My math, I can't math right now, y'all. I thought he would be 48. No, he would have to be older than 42. I'm older than 42. And he was born in, let me see here. Yeah, that's probably what the internet said, but he was born in 75. He was born November the 17th of 1975. So I think he'd be 78. Like I said, my math don't math right now. Bear with me.
Every unsolved case leaves a vacuum of unanswered questions. And that's especially true when a child is at the center of the investigation.
Tonight, our Shay McAllister and the Unsolved team take you to...
And I'm using this under fair use.
Hazard, Kentucky, where a 6-year-old boy has been missing since 1982. Here's mystery in the mountains.
On February 12, 1982, in the Pine Tree Hollow area of Knott County, Judy Moore let her 6-year-old son, Kelly, go outside and play, and he hasn't been seen since.
A mystery deep within the mountains.
We searched in here at least 3 times I can recall, and there was never no evidence found of the child.
6-year-old Kelly Hollan Jr. walked out of his Hazard home 36 years ago.
Well, I put on his jacket.
This is a older video, by the way, but one thing I wanted to mention is, you know, we say these kids are going missing, and a lot of us wonder how and why has it got worse. I think this is kind of proof that it's always been going on. We just didn't have a way of knowing about it, because this is 1982. And that's his mom.
No doubt. It had a tear on the bottom of the zipper. And he hugged me and he said, "Mom, I love you."
At the time, it was nothing unusual. Not until later. When family...
How can they say it was nothing unusual? Did they really just say that? Did I hear that right? I would think a kid. Yeah, I read it from the Charlie Project. I would think that a kid going missing isn't unusual.
Family tried calling Kelly in for dinner. He never came home.
Once the trooper had collected initial necessary information, he and the rescue squad searched the area for approximately 1 hour. And
Approximately 1 hour.
due to manpower issues and a heavy snowfall at that time, the search was initially called off.
They searched again the next morning and kept searching in the coming weeks, but the rough terrain never revealed any clues leading to Kelly.
It's been a long-standing unknown.
They don't know if the child was...
This one is kind of, it's hard, because when I look at these, this terrain, it's like walking to the end of my driveway, y'all.
taken, ran away, or killed.
There's too many ifs. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no answers.
At least no answers that police could prove. Early on, officers tried to build a case for Kelly's murder.
There was a grand jury investigation that was conducted.
Suspicion swirling around the family, focusing on a suspect who knew the child well.
I'm Judy Moore, and I'm Kelly Hollan Jr.'s mom.
I will also say that in some Facebook groups, there is the aunt to Kelly in one of those, and she seems to think she may have had something to do with it. Now, I don't know if it's her sister or if it's Kelly's dad's sister. That's not been made clear, but I'm pretty sure it's hers.
They was just looking at me. Why am I the only suspect? What did I do wrong?
There was never a conclusion as to whether they considered foul play or missing, but I think there were some questions about some issues.
I was told by the police that my sister said that I killed him and she helped me bury him.
Now explain to me something. I've listened to this 100 times. If somebody said they helped somebody bury a child, is that not a confession? I mean, I would think the sister would be arrested. What do you all think?
I don't know if that really happened, but that's what I was told.
Did you talk to your sister about that?
She said it didn't happen, but
You don't know?
after a while, she quit talking to me.
Police were never.
And I mean, I know police can lie. So, yeah, they could have told her, well, your sister said, that you killed him and she helped bury him. But why did she quit talking after that? So, I mean, it makes you wonder.
Never able to get the indictment. Weeks without answers turned into months, months into years. Kelly's face changing and his memory fading.
Okay, now this was the last age progression that I can even find. He has a very distinctive scar, you all. I would think if he's out there, he would have saw these missing person age progressions, and I know they ain't spot on, but seeing that scar and like, is that me? If he wanted to be found, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm speculating. This is a cold case.
Many who were involved, who lived in the area or who were family or friends have passed on.
Kelly's case sat stagnant until 5 years ago.
Investigators received information of a possible grave at a residence, or what was left of a residence on Pine Tree Hollow.
A tip leading them back to that secluded street.
Several troopers and detectives came to this location, found what they believed was being described as that place of the grave. But unfortunately, through several hours or days worth of digging and excavating, they was unable to locate any type of remains or any clue or
Hello, happy hippie.
instance that there was
Thank you for being with us.
ever anyone buried there.
Another dead-end clue, leading detectives to believe they may never find Kelly.
I would imagine that there'd probably no chance of, through just decomposition and animals, wildlife, and so forth, that would make it probably nearly impossible.
But there is one person who holds out hope.
Kelly, I love you so much. Just let me know.
She thinks Kelly could be watching.
Say hi, Mom. That's all I'd ask. I wouldn't want nothing else from him.
And she has a message to others who might be thinking something else.
Anybody that thinks I killed my son, may God have mercy on them. How would you feel if it was your child?
You sharing our unsolved stories and the clues have developed new leads that investigators are following right now.
More than 45,000 of you have been a part of our behind-the-scenes Facebook Lives. That's where the Unsolved team is walking you through their unprecedented access to these case files.
Well, that's neat.
A mother and father put their 3 kids to bed, left the house, and haven't been seen since.
Okay. What do y'all think about this case? Do you think that he's still alive? Now, from the way that the cop was talking, or the state police was talking, it don't sound to me like they think he is. Why would she be out walking around free? Yeah, that's my question. I mean, if she had straight up confessed to a cop that she helped bury a 6-year-old child, I would think she wouldn't be walking around free. You know, kids just don't. Kids don't just disappear, and we know that. We know kids don't just disappear. Now, it's a cold case. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, it would have had to been somebody close to him. That's how I feel. I mean, it would have had to have been somebody that lived in that neighborhood or in that holler. That's what we call it up in here. If he wandered off, see, this is hard. This is hard because I know how I was raised, and this is in Kentucky. I know how I was raised. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was never in the house. Not at all. Me and my siblings would go out. We would stay in the mountains for hours on end. And it'd be close to dark when we come in. At his age, I was roaming the mountains. So I knew how to get back home. But I know every kid ain't me either. But I mean, the mountains was a playground back in the 80s. I mean, that's where you stayed. You stayed up in the mountains. You made playhouses, hide and go seek with family. So, is there, where was the sister or wildlife? Well, Judy's sister, I think she lived close by. We're going to watch another video here in just a second. I think she lived close by. But for her to say she helped bury a 6-year-old, I don't understand. I don't understand why they wouldn't investigate that just a little bit harder. Hey, Kim. Hey, Maria. If sister helped bury the boy, did she tell where they buried? See, he said that when he went to the grave where the gravesite was supposed to be, he didn't find anything. I'm not crazy about Birdie's crime chat. Hi, Crystal. That's how I grew up too, out in the country. Yes, and I mean, put a 1 in chat if you was raised in the country and split the mountains wide open, stayed in the hill all day long. Because Michelle did. Birdie's crime chat says that they grew up in the country, stayed in the mountains. Hey, Maria. Wasn't he playing in the snow? No tracks. Well, you got to think. It came a huge snow, big enough to cancel school. But they wouldn't let her use the phone until midnight. When, like 6 o'clock, she notices him gone in the evening. And the neighbor wouldn't let her use phone till midnight. To me, that raises suspicion itself on the neighbor. Why would a neighbor not let a distraught mom call the law because her kid's missing until midnight? That it don't add up. I grew up in the city, but I've been in the country for 23 years and raised my kids in the country. They played all in the woods for their childhood. They are grown now. Yeah, we did. I did. I mean, you guys, I can remember being bored and going into the mountain and playing myself, by myself. I didn't even have to have nobody. I'd be up there and make friends with a tree and play for hours. But so I would think him being raised in the country, he's not really going to get lost. Not back in the 80s when kids stayed in the mountains. Now, it's different nowadays. Because nowadays we can't let our kids go into the mountains. But back then we were in it all the time. The mountains was our playground. We knew them just like we know our yard. So, and I mean, I live in Kentucky, and that's where this was. I lived in trees and yeah, we swung on grapevines. Y'all, I can remember like cutting my foot, and I wasn't going home to have nobody take care of it. So, I mean, yeah, I know now. People say, well, if they're lost in that terrain, and that is absolutely correct. Nowadays, that's correct. But back then, kids knew the mountains probably better than some of the adults. Do you know who knew the mountains better than the kids did? Moonshiners. That's it. Kids knew these mountains. Me, my sisters, my cousins, we lived in the mountains. We knew them. It was just like we didn't. Let me see. No, heck no. You went home for a cut and got the red. Yeah, that is exactly. That's a new. You didn't tell about. You didn't tell about them cuts. Yep. Sure would. Some of these people's had some painful treatment back in the 80s. We didn't really have neighbors. Yeah, we didn't either. We didn't have neighbors. So that's why I kind of understand that. But it said she walked across the road to the neighbors. So their neighbors was probably a little closer than mine. But no, we didn't have. And the neighbors we had, we knew. I mean, we knew these people. Let me fix this. Okay, that's better. It was all out of whack. But the neighbors that we had, we knew them. Okay? It was probably family. Let's see what this other video says. See if it gives us any more information. And I'm going to speed this one up because a lot of it is probably going to be repetitive information. But I've never had a stitch, knock on wood, but I know what you're saying, Crystal. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any stitches until, and let me tell you, until I was about 12 years old. And do you know why I got stitches then? Because the neighbor boy betted me $5 that I couldn't hit a can off a pole shooting a 30-06. and I wanted the $5. I got the $5 too. I did hit it, but I split my brains wide open with the scope, put my eye right to it. So, turn my camera off for a minute and play this one. Okay. And this video is Appalachian Storyteller. I will be linking in the description all of these if you all want to watch them, watched it completely without being interrupted.
To better understand the circumstances of Kelly's case, it's best to start with some background. Kelly's mother was named Judy Moore, a young Kentucky girl who had dropped out of school by the time she was 14 and quickly married a man named Bobby Hollan. Within a couple years, Judy had given birth to a son and a daughter, yet times were hard due.
Well, this is giving quite a lot of more information, because this is the first video that, no, it ain't, because I think she didn't have custody of the daughter because she took seizures. That is correct.
Due to the fact that neither Judy nor Bobby had a job, it was only a matter of time before the Department of Children's Services stepped in and declared both of them unfit parents, and a judge issued a court order granting custody of both their children to Judy's parents, who lived an hour away in Jackson. However, within a few months, on November 17, 1975, Kelly was born and was the only child living at home with Judy and Bobby.
And this brings up something that I have been saying for a long time. I think that parents that have lost their children for any type of abuse, if they go have other children, I think they were to at least be investigated. And if they've done something that is life-threatening or severe, abuse them and not just been charged, but being convicted of it, I don't think they ought to be able to have custody to go and abuse another kid. People can come at me if they want to, but no, I don't think they should. That gives them a chance to hurt another child. So this right here automatically raises a red flag with me.
For some reason, his birth went unnoticed by the state of Kentucky, and it didn't result in any action from Child Protective Services. Yet,
it wouldn't resort to anything right now, hardly, if I'm being honest.
Even with a new baby, it wasn't enough to keep the parents together. They quickly divorced, and Bobby moved off to Florida. And as you might imagine, Kelly was born into a world that was far from a fairy tale. After losing custody of her two oldest children and her husband, Kelly became his mother's reason for living. And, according to her, he was the only thing that she had left. That is, until 1981, when both Judy and Kelly moved into a rental house with her new boyfriend, Kurt.
Okay, well now that brings in a whole new situation right there. Thank you everybody for being here. We do appreciate you. Thank you, Dutch.
Campbell, who lived in Pine Tree Holler, which was located in Knott County, Kentucky.
Odd, I've drove right by that sign before.
This place was your typical holler, with only about 50 souls calling this place home. It was the type of place where everyone knew everybody, and many of them were family. They knew.
Happy Hippie says, oh boy, a new boyfriend. Yeah. Yep, that's a red flag, ain't it? A brand new one? Now, you see how these houses are? When I was growing up, they were not that close. That style of houses, but they were not that close.
Your car, anytime you left home, what time you came back, and those watchful eyes didn't miss anything. By 1982, Kelly was 6 years old, and it was here that he would grow up. The young boy had been born with a cleft palate and severe asthma, and he had recently been in the hospital.
Okay, I didn't know he had severe asthma. So that brings a whole new question. If he was out in the cold, in the snow, and went up into the mountain with severe asthma, that brings on a whole new danger point, in my opinion. Because what if he had an asthma attack? If he was climbing a mountain, wandered off into a mountain, was climbing it, got out of breath, it cold outside, that is a bunch of things that could trigger an asthma attack. So that brings on a whole new possibility right there. And to only search for him for an hour? Are you kidding me? An asthmatic 6-year-old child was only searched for an hour that night. I know the snow was bad, but my goodness, you would think would be more reason to search longer. A new boyfriend, now asthma. I have questions. Me too, Dutchie.
Several times that left him with a scar on the left side of his mouth. But besides that, Kelly was a typical child of the mountains. He loved to play outside with his friends and down at the creek or exploring the endless forest that surrounded his home. And he had also...
Okay. So he loved to explore the forest that was around his home? That was real typical back in the 80s. I mean, so could he have possibly went into the hills with snow on the ground? Maybe had an asthma attack.
Also just enrolled in Jones Fork Elementary School as a kindergartner. And in many ways, school was an escape for the young boy because his home life was still full of poverty and lacking many luxuries like cable television.
Oh, give me a break. All of us kids was lacking cable television, telephone, and all that back in the 80s. He was living a normal 6-year-old country boy life. That kills me. I'm sorry. Sorry. Could an animal have got him? Bear? Mountain lion? I have to ask. Well, I know him around here. I never saw a mountain lion, but I have saw bobcats. I've saw panthers, which might be what you're calling a mountain lion. I'm pretty. Coyotes. I mean, there's a lot of wildlife in Kentucky. Some wildlife that you wouldn't even think was in Kentucky. Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't get cable until I was 22 years old, 1995. Rapid ears for us, Bertie says, and was recently hospitalized for shoulder damages. Yeah.
Or a phone. The disappearance of Kelly took place on Friday, February 12th, 1982. Now, keep in mind that the only person at home when Kelly mysteriously vanished was his mother, and all of the details that follow are what she later told police.
So we've only got one person's timeline, basically. So my question is automatically, who last saw Kelly besides his mom? Dutchie says, we were in the country. rolling hills, so no fiber optic out that far. Dutchie, I ain't got fiber optic now. That's how far I am. Yeah, I want to know more about the boyfriend, too. Maria says, I have black and white with 3 channels. Well, now, at one point we did have television, but if one limb got on that antenna, you had to walk them hills to get your picture back. You'd be walking with your head straight up in the air to see what might be laying on the lines. Anybody remember that?
The night before, a heavy winter storm blew through, and by Friday morning, Pine Tree Holler was a blanket of thick snow and sub-freezing temperatures. So much so that it was impossible for school buses to pick up children on the twisting mountain roads, and school was canceled for the day. This was a young boy's dream. No school, making it a 3-day weekend to build snowmans and have snowball fights in the fresh snow. Kelly slept in late that morning before getting up and asking his mother if he could go outside and play. According to Judy, she originally told the boy he couldn't because of his asthma, but eventually she gave in about 11 o'clock a.m. and let him play in the front yard. And with that, Kelly slipped on his snow boots and put on his blue coat and set out to the yard.
So, right here is where the timeline starts. He slept in, evidently wanted to go outside all morning. Now, and then she gave in about 11 o'clock. Well, now, I didn't have asthma, so I can't. I'm just going to tell y'all, I can't never remember being told I couldn't go play in the snow. I remember being told, go outside and play. Mama knew we'd come in when it got cold. Yeah, coyotes are real bad here, too. Happy Hippie. She says coyotes are bad here. I had 3 on my porch. Not that bad here. A few months ago, and I walked out to smoke a cig and they ran off. I guess that explains how a bunch of my chickens died. Yeah. Yep.
For the next 5 hours, Kelly played outside with a young mother glancing out of the window at him from time to time to make sure he was okay. According to Judy, lunch came and went, but Kelly never came in to eat. By 4 p.m., Kelly was still playing in the...
I will say this. In the cold, I can't remember playing 5 hours in the snow. And I'll tell you why, because we didn't have big snow boots when I was growing up. Our snow socks was bread bags. You slip them suckers over your shoes. You put about 6 or 7 pairs of socks on your hands, because now we didn't have no gloves and nothing like that back in the day. You put 2 or 3 pairs of pants on and a bunch of shirts on, and then you went out there and you played. So either you got tired of packing around all them extra clothing, or your feet got wet eventually. So I can't remember playing that many hours in the snow. But we go in, we get warm and go back out.
Freezing temperatures with nothing on but a pair of jeans and a light jacket. At this time, Judy needed to make a phone call to her sister.
Allie says 5 hours is a long time to be outside in the cold with a child. Yes, with asthma. Absolutely. Yep, I did.
Which meant she would need to walk to a neighbor's house to use their phone. She told Kelly she would be right back, and then she set out to the neighbor's. Yet, when she returned an hour later, Kelly wasn't in the yard anymore.
That's not really right back either.
Or in the house. But Judy just figured he was at a friend's house to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. She thought nothing of it. And strangely, at 6 p.m., she made herself supper and ate alone without her 6-year-old son.
What? No, now that is strange. And I'll tell you why that's strange to me. Because I grew up like this, okay? I'm going to tell you something. One time that you came in was supper time. When it was time to eat. Let me explain. Your parents wasn't cooking all day long. You didn't have ready-made snacks in your kitchen. So you did come in and eat supper. My mama insisted on it. For one thing, my mama wasn't cooking a big meal and all 4 kids weren't coming in to eat. She wasn't wasting food like that. Nope. That don't sound right to me.
She said she just thought he was still playing, which seems a bit odd considering the young boy hadn't ate since breakfast. By 7 p.m., Judy decided to walk over to her neighbor's house and make Kelly come home. Yet it turned out that none of the neighbors had seen him at all that whole day. Panic immediately set in, and Judy decided to call the police.
So you mean to tell me he slept in? 11 o'clock, she lets him go outside. When it comes supper time, at 6 o'clock, when her youngin is not outside, she doesn't go looking for him. She sits down and eats. But he hasn't eaten all day. And he's got asthma. And he's been out in the cold. This don't add up. I've got questions.
Police. So she walked over to her boyfriend's grandparents' house to use their phone. Once the frightened young mother told the grandparents that Kelly was missing, astonishingly, Judy said that they told her she couldn't use her phone to dial 911 until after midnight because the call would be cheaper.
What? Are you kidding me? I'm listening to that again because I couldn't have heard that right.
911 until after midnight because the call Kelly was missing. Astonishingly, Judy said that they told her she couldn't use her phone.
Who was that neighbor? The
The
grandmother.
mother told the grandparents that Kelly was missing.
Once the frightened young mother told the grandparents that Kelly was missing, you all. Now, I might be forgetting something. Back then, when you made a phone call, you couldn't call out of the county. But wasn't calls cheaper after 7 o'clock? Because y'all shared 9 times out of 10 one phone line. You got charged for police. Well, I mean, you could have, but I remember phone service was a lot different. You had a party line. If your neighbors was using the phone, you couldn't use it. You had to wait till they got off the line. If you called outside of your county, it was considered a long distance call. And then there was this one point that you could get telephone service in your surrounding counties was considered local. Then if you called outside of those, it was considered long distance. But the best I can remember, all your calls would be like 15 cents a minute, but would go down dramatically after 7 o'clock. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me. If somebody remembers in the chat, please put it in. But I know it was cheaper at night. Now I'm thinking it was after 7. I only had a party line in Crossville. We had our own line in Knoxville even before that. Well, it may be where you were located at then. I can't exactly remember when we got our own line. I do remember a party line, though, because it got me in trouble for being nosy and telling about it at church. That's neither here nor there. Let's finish this.
And astonishingly, Judy said that they told her she couldn't use her phone to dial 911 until after midnight because the call would be cheaper. Now, that statement boggles most logical thinkers' minds. Her child was missing. Why not just force her way and make that call?
I would have. I'm sorry, but Granny would have got a punch. She would have been calling 911 on me. I don't know if this is her parents or this boyfriend's parents, but I'm sure starting to have questions about them. Is this the same house that she thought that he would be at watching the Dukes of Hazzard? That supposedly hadn't seen him all day?
Or how about going back to the other neighbor's house where she had borrowed the phone earlier in the afternoon? Most parents would have at least done that.
Okay, so different neighbor. Yeah, why didn't she go there? Why is she going to two different? Okay, so it was the grandparents that she thought he was at, and they wouldn't let her use the phone. Well, why didn't she just go to the other neighbor's house that she was at earlier? Don't make sense.
Yet, Judy decided to wait until midnight to call the authorities. But by now, word had gotten out amongst the locals, and most neighbors were busy looking for Kelly. Yet, strangely, none of them called the police either.
This is weird. Even for 1982, this is weird.
It was dark, and footsteps in the snow were already being covered up and disappearing due to another snowstorm.
Yeah, but right off Jump Street, there should have been footprints. As a mom, did she not look and see where his little feet print went? Because if it was snowing that hard that the kid's footprints was covered up so quickly, he should have been in the house. Because that's different. That is a flat out blizzard. And he's standing out in it.
Finally, the fateful call to police came at 12 a.m., 8 hours after Kelly had last been seen by his mother. Then Judy called her own parents to let them know. Curiously,
okay, so it is this boyfriend's grandparent or parents that ain't letting her call. Because it says she called her own parents to let them know. Well, Granny would have sure got a punch if it was me. Not my mama. Oh, girl,
her parents were reported to have told Judy on the phone, I told you we should have taken him too. It was now 2 a.m. before the deputy sheriffs arrived on the scene. And after searching the immediate area, they quickly realized that they needed more help to search the vast surrounding mountains. By 3 a.m., the State Highway Patrol arrived on the scene. But the intense snow and total darkness made the search futile. So the decision was made to resume the search in the morning. Everyone on the scene knew Kelly's life hung in the balance. But the questions remained. What happened to him? And where did he go?
Okay, Ellie, I have read her other kids was taken away from her because she was unable to take care of them because she was epileptic. Don't know how true that is. Because at the beginning of this, it didn't sound like that. Because they were took while she was with Kelly's dad. So I know they both went epileptic. Shoot, I can't even talk.
Before long, questions and rumors began swirling. Had Kelly gotten lost in the woods and froze to death? Had someone...
Well, sir, I thought that might have been possible until people be not calling 911 because it costs them too much money. And evidently it's the boyfriend's mother and father that's not letting that happen. So I'm starting to lean a different way.
Abducted him. That didn't seem likely, given the remote location and the number of eyes that would have surely recognized an unfamiliar car on the dead-end road.
That's true, too. If it was a stranger, I'm going to tell you, in 2024, if there's a car that goes past my house, I know if it don't live up in here. I know if it's not one that runs this road often. Not because I'm nosy. I'm kind of nosy, but not because I'm completely nosy, but because I know what everybody drives.
Road. Had something more sinister happened? After all, police investigators had discovered that there were several residents living in the holler that had criminal records. And most disturbing, why had Judy waited 11 hours after Kelly was last seen to call the police?
Now that don't make sense to me. It don't make no sense, you all.
Gotta tell you, as a parent, that makes no sense to me.
Maybe, I'm glad we agree on something, sir.
Maybe you have a theory about why she did it. Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, after 16 days, the search for Kelly.
Well, I'm starting to think that her and her sister may have buried him. Am I the only one? 11 hours. Yes, Allie. 11 hours. Or something with the boyfriend and his parents. You're right, Kim. It could have very well been that too. But now, I'm going to tell you, if somebody didn't let me call 911 because of a dime or a penny, they're going to get hit. They're going to call 911 because I'm about to go to jail. So this makes no sense.
Was called off. Yet, the investigation continued. One by one, every person who lived in the area was carefully examined and then ruled out. It had become obvious that only one person had any information about the timeline of that day, and that was Kelly's mother. And police needed more answers from Judy Moore, so they interviewed her several more times. And inconsistencies in her story began to raise suspicions.
I hope this person has the inconsistencies. I want to know. I'm fully invested now. I want to know. I haven't watched this interview.
All of a sudden, she made claims that she had seen a strange green car in the area that day, and that possibly Kelly's father, who lived in Florida, had abducted him. But that too turned out to be a dead end for authorities.
Okay. I had never known that the biological father lived in Florida. Ma'am, how would that man have known that the good Lord in heaven was going to send down some snow and get school canceled that day? So he just decided to drive from Florida to Kentucky.
By March 3rd, despite the lack of any physical evidence, a grand jury subpoenaed Judy Moore to testify in court as to her son's disappearance. But in the end, no charges were filed against her. Kelly Jr. Hollan's disappearance became a cold case file. As the months slowly turned into years, psychics were called in, and Judy was given a lie detector test, which she passed. Anonymous
You know, it's a funny thing about them lie detector tests, though. It's according to what you're taking and how good of a liar you are if you pass them. I'm just saying, I don't trust them.
tips came in about a shallow grave that was discovered. Another time, a tip came in about a grave that was buried underneath a concrete porch that had been poured around the time of Kelly's disappearance.
Okay. So they pour a concrete porch.
Police exhausted every tip and every lead, and they nearly dug up that entire holler. But in the end, no trace of Kelly was found. It's been 42 years since Kelly vanished without a trace. It was long rumored by locals that Judy's sister once made a statement that both of them had killed Kelly and buried his body. Yet, Judy and her sister both denied that fact, even though they no longer had contact with one another. And in 2010, Judy's sister died, and it was rumored that she had wrote one last letter that was only to be opened after her death. Yet, no one knows what happened to that letter.
Of course they don't. Of course they don't. Let me tell you something. Do the right thing while you're alive. If you know anything, say something.
Because if it exists, it has never surfaced. Kelly's mother, Judy, has never been charged and still maintains her innocence to this very day.
It's got it labeled as Mossy Kentucky too. So this is what he looked like when he went missing. This would be what he would look like today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello.
Okay, leave. Okay. What the actual crap? Put a 1 in chat if you think this kid. If you think this kid is actually still out there. Do you know where the boyfriend was that day? Or did I miss that? It don't say. It don't say. Which makes me wonder. Somebody want to talk about this with me because I've got all kinds of questions. Here we go. Who actually waits 11 hours to call the law and say they can't find their kid? If there wasn't snow on the ground, Mama might would have thought I was still up in the mountain somewhere. But I would have been in big trouble if I wasn't home by the time the whippoorwills started. Matter of fact, that's why she called on that. Whoop her, I will. If you didn't come in the house by the time it was getting dark, you was in some bad trouble. But in the snow, no. No, there ain't no way. She's trying to say the biological dad took Kelly. There's no way. There's no way that man drove from Florida to Kentucky on the whim that it might snow and school be canceled. And why? I don't even know why they're calling them grandparents, but why would the grandparents not let her call? Because I'm not buying it would be cheaper. I'm not buying that. I don't even remember such a thing. And even if they wouldn't let her call, why didn't she co-cop one of them and call anyway? Because if you hurt somebody bad enough, I mean, they're going to send the police out to your house. Somebody going to call law. Or leave there and go use the phone you used earlier. That was right across the road from your house. Even more questions. Who all saw him that day? Was she the only one saw him? That's the case. We have no clue that something didn't happen to him the day before. Yeah, she had one neighbor that she had went, Kim, to their house at 4 o'clock to use the phone. And when she come back, Kelly wasn't still in the yard. So she didn't think nothing of it because she thought he might be at the neighbor's house watching Dukes of Hazzard. And it looks like that neighbor might have been boyfriend's mommy and daddy. I'm not sure. But they're calling them grandparents. But yet she ends up calling her parents. And then her parents say, we told you we should have took him too. Let me just say. Why did she ask? I would. Yeah, I would have. Michelle says, why'd she ask? I would have barged in. I would have too. I probably wouldn't have even told them what was going on. I would have grabbed the phone. Yeah, mine would have. Mine would have definitely in that time of the year because it's getting darker quicker. Like I said, you had to be in the house by dark. So did they polygraph the boyfriend? What is his name? It don't tell. I wonder why it don't tell. I would love to have a FOIA on this case. I wonder if the boyfriend's parents gave. Well, he might have. But from what I can tell, we have no proof that he even woke up that morning. If I'm being honest. This don't add up. It don't add up. For one thing, unless it was just coming a monsoon of snow, you would think there would be some track of him. And let me tell you, there ain't nobody can track like a hillbilly. I know. I'm telling you. Hmm. Aria says maybe his sister knows. That was right. Who knows? Well, I wonder if she stayed with the boyfriend after the boy went missing. Well, you know what? I'm going to find out. I'm going to go to the Facebook because I want to know. Judy. Still living in about the same area, it looks like. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I gotta show you this after a while. First person on her friends list is named Duchess, and I ain't even kidding about that. More. Let's see. So yeah, just a second. See what you're about is. If she married that guy, she hasn't changed her name. I'll say that. From the looks of things, she's allowed to be around kids. I will say this, she's got a lot of missing flyers, see, of other people. Let's see. Vanished. Someone knows something. Here's an article. 42 years later. That's about somebody else. That's not about her son. She's got a whole lot of missing flyers on it. Good night, Allie. Yeah, happy he be at home. But that looks like, okay, so July the 5th of 2018, she shares somebody else's post about Kelly. Which has the age progression of 39 years old. And are you kidding? This girl says, thank you for sharing. the person that posted it, she shared somebody else's post, is thanking her, and she didn't even say you're welcome, nothing. I wonder if she entered her DNA in the registry. I doubt it. I really doubt it. But I don't want to insinuate, but I'm sorry. That don't add up to me. It don't add up to me. You don't wait 11 hours to call the law. You don't let somebody tell you that it's going to cost too much. I wonder how long that would. Well, that's a good question, too. But you would think, though, throughout the years, the option would be there to enter her DNA. I don't know. I don't know. Just a second. Let me go ahead and put this up there. What do you all think about this? What's your thoughts on it? Do you all think he was took? Or do you think something nefarious happened? I'm real interested in knowing. Maria, thank God she didn't have any more babies. Well, how about it? I'd be inclined to agree with that. I am too, Duchess. I am too. I mean, I will say this. She did look pretty genuine when it comes to being tore up. I'm no body language expert at all, but something had to happen. Name is known. So I will ask her to submit it. That's good to know, Duchess. I think maybe it was planned. He's alive. Maybe she's ignorant. Name is Fernanda. Well, I will say this. On her Facebook, it does look like she does have contact with those other two kids now. They are on her friends list, it looks like. Just simply because you can go into the about and it tells who you're kin to if you mark it. But okay. The National Institute of Justice started using DNA in missing persons case in 2003. I think nefarious. Why would you wait 11 hours? I could see 4 hours, but 11. Yeah, I don't see 11, even in the 80s. I don't, especially with a kid with asthma. And yeah, I understand that they didn't really know a whole lot about asthma back then. Well, they probably knew a lot about it, but parents didn't know a lot about it. I'm going to put it that way because I know I seen a couple kids breathing into a brown paper bag, in other words. So, didn't see very many inhalers. which is scary. Thank you, Dutchie. Thank you so much. Yes, he does have a nameless. On the screen is Kelly Hollan Jr. He's been missing since February the 13th, 1982. If he was alive today, he would actually be 48 years old. This flyer says from Mossy, Kentucky, also known as Hyman, Kentucky, also known as Hazard, Kentucky. Pretty much. He went missing from his front yard. He was, let me find that because I can't see that little writing on there. Okay. He went missing February the 13th of 1982 from Hyman, Kentucky. He was 6 years old. He was 4 foot 60 pounds. If he's alive today, y'all, a lot of these things are not going to matter because it's not going to be what he is now. But who knows? Maybe somebody seen a kid wearing this and stuff back in 1982, and this might trigger something, so I'm going to say it anyways. He had on a blue and white shirt, a blue hooded windbreaker jacket with the zipper torn at the bottom, blue jeans, and brown boots. Kelly was born with a cleft palate and has a speech impediment. As a result, he can't pronounce certain words correctly. He is a Caucasian male, brown hair, blue eyes. Kelly has a surgical scar on the left side of his face between his nose and upper lip. When he was 6 years old, his teeth had gaps between them. If you have any information or may have known something from those back then, you are encouraged to call the Kentucky State Police at 606. Somebody type this in chat so I can put it on. Yes, there we go. Dutchie is on it at 606-435-6069. This, like I said, this case, went missing when he was 6. He would be 48 now. So it's a 42-year-old cold case. Regardless, answers needs to be got, I think. I hope y'all have enjoyed this one. Remember, I'm going to be doing a little bit more of cold cases because I think they're important. I know what it's like to have a cold case in the family, and going that long without any answers, it ain't fun. But I'm going to be covering a lot more cold cases here coming up. If you know a cold case that you would like me to cover, you can, let me put this up here. Give me just a second. I know I had it. Running across the bottom of my screen is my email. You can email me at coldcasecrystal@gmail.com. I'll look over it, do my very best to cover it. My heart kind of lies with the cold cases, y'all. We've got a lot of great people in this community that do cover current cases like missing kids and adults and persons, and I'll still be doing that too, but I think the cold cases need attention as well. I really enjoyed the live. Thanks a lot for sharing. I'm glad I found your channel. Well, I'm glad to have you here, Happy Hippie. Thank you for, yes, thank you so much. And who knows, we may actually, I would love for you to cover. Oh, send me the information, Michelle. You know, honey, you asked me, I'll cover it. Oh, and I got some good news because old girl's going to be getting some different internet. And I'm a little happy about it. I'm hoping it's going to be better than what I got now. But you'll see a lot more videos and stuff when I don't have to fight with the internet so bad. But like I said, yes, if you all haven't subscribed to my beautiful friend Duchess, I asked you to go do that. And over there, she covers a lot of missing persons cases, you all. She is doing a fantastic job. She just had a interview today. Duchess, if you've got the link to that news article, drop it in the chat. She's got 2 billboards that's went up for Sebastian Rogers. And I personally think it's awesome. So I think it does take a village to get this information out there. And I also think that it's good that, you know, you've got people that do cover like current missing, and then you got some that cover unalived cases of all different kinds. Then you got cold cases. That way we can get different areas. Yes, we're praying that he's found every day. I'm more along the lines of the cold cases. I like to stick to what I know, but, you know, in a cold case, there ain't too much you can do to harm that case, especially one that's been cold for 42 years. So for my own self, you know, not slipping up and hurting a case, I don't want to do that. I'm subbed to Duchess for 2 years. I just never get notifications after. Often I'll keep an eye out. I'll tell you what I have to do sometimes. Sometimes I have to unsub and sub again. That way it starts telling me about it again. But you all, I thank everybody for being here. Thank you for participating. If you don't care, share this video out. I know some people might be saying it's 42 years. The man would be 48 years. You know, there is that possibility that he may be out there and he could possibly see this live if he is and not realize that he was a missing kid. If you've ever saw that movie, Picture on a Milk Jug, is that the name of it? I watched it. I just didn't, I don't know. But the woman didn't realize that the picture that she was looking at was her. She was older and then realized it was her. So you never know. We got to keep hope. Thank you, Dutchie. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Happy Hippie. Maria. Kim. Yeah, it would be wonderful, Kim. It would be. But I'm going to end that right here. And you all remember, it takes 0 effort to be a good human being. You actually got to try to be a bad one. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all later.